Right, we've got some breaking news to report. The AP reporting that Haitian President Jovenel Moïse is dead after armed intruders broke into his home overnight. According to an official, the Haitian Prime Minister, the nation's leader, was fatally shot. His wife was also injured in the attack. NBC News has not confirmed the report. The statement did not identify the assailants, but said they were Spanish-speaking. This comes amid months of political upheaval within the country over calls for the president to resign. Again, Haitian President Jovenel Moïse apparently shot and killed inside of his home.
That, according to the Associated Press, and since the 2010 earthquake, the situation in Haiti has gone from terrible to even worse. Murders, chaos, anarchy really has been set loose upon that country, especially over the past year. But again, the decline in Haiti has continued over the past 10 years. Many considering Moïse to be an illegitimate president who illegally overstayed his term. But right now, the only reports we're getting from the Associated Press is he has been assassinated. NBC News has yet to confirm that news.
We have breaking news from Haiti, where the country's president is dead this morning, assassinated in what's being described as a middle-of-the-night attack. Jovenel Moïse had been in office for 4 years and had been the target of months of protests. Haiti's interim prime minister said Moïse's wife was also wounded in the attack. With us on the phone now is Jacqueline Charles. She's the Caribbean correspondent for the Miami Herald and has covered Haiti extensively. Jacqueline, good morning to you. What are you hearing about this assassination?
Yes, hi, good morning. So what we are hearing is that it occurred in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning, sometime around 1 a.m., according to the current acting interim prime minister. These are unknown, unidentified assailants that in video circulating identified themselves as DEA agents, or that this was a DEA operation. These were not DEA agents. There was no DEA operation. One high-ranking official told me that these are quote-unquote mercenaries. We're still trying to figure out who they were, who hired them, what's the motive behind all of this. And yes, the president was quote-unquote mortally wounded, but he is dead.
The statement from the Prime Minister's office says that some of the unidentified assailants spoke Spanish. Is that credible? And also, what's the backdrop here? What led up to this middle-of-the-night attack?
So, yes, it is credible. They spoke Spanish and they spoke English with an American accent. You know, the backdrop, Haiti is a country that has been in chaos now for a while. President Moïse has been in office for 4 months. He's been contested almost from the minute that he got into office. Lately, you know, you have a sector of the population in civil society that said they did not recognize him because his presidential term expired February 7th of this year. He said no, he still had another year to go. The United States actually backed him up on that claim. At the same time, he was trying to force through a constitutional referendum, and the majority of Haitian legal experts and constitutional experts said that it was illegal. At the same time, he's been getting pressure to hold legislative elections because he's been ruling by decree since January 2020. And in ruling by decree, he made a number of decisions or passed presidential orders, one of which was to create a secret intelligence agency. And he also redefined what would be considered, you know, terrorism, basic acts of protest like burning tires. They decided that that was terrorism under these new domestic laws. So this is a president that has faced a lot of controversy in a country where you have a humanitarian crisis, you have an armed gang crisis, alarming spikes in kidnappings. Since June 1st, you've had more than 16,000 Haitians who have been forced out of their homes in poor working-class neighborhoods because of armed clashes with rival gangs. You also have an economic crisis. I mean, it has just been an overall country that's volatile. And today, with the death of the president, I've been told that there is no constitutional legal solution in terms of who should take charge.
All right. Well, a dramatic overnight development in one of America's closest neighbors there in the Caribbean. Mercenaries is the allegation, spoke Spanish and American accented English. Jacqueline Charles, thank you very much for that breaking reporting.
Haiti declared a state of emergency on Wednesday, hours after the brazen assassination of the Caribbean nation's president.
The government said President Jovenel Moïse was shot dead by unidentified attackers in his home in Port-au-Prince overnight in what it called a barbaric act. The 53-year-old president's wife, Martine Moïse, was also shot and injured and receiving medical treatment. Interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph said in televised remarks that the government had declared a state of emergency amid confusion over who would take over the reins of the country.
Haitian people, stay calm as everything is under control. The Council of Ministers gathered to ensure the continuity of the state. President Jovenel Moïse will not die without getting justice.
In Washington, U.S. President Joe Biden was briefed on the murder and called the situation in Haiti worrisome.
What's your reaction, Mr. President, to the Haitian president being assassinated?
We need a lot more information, but it's very worrisome.
The assassination coincides with a wave of gang violence as armed groups battle police and one another for control of the streets in recent months. Haiti is the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. It faces a growing humanitarian crisis and food shortage, and fears of widespread chaos are spreading. The Dominican Republic announced it was closing its border with Haiti. The U.S. Embassy said in a statement it would be closed Wednesday due to the ongoing security situation. Moïse faced fierce protests after taking office as president in 2017. This year, the opposition accused him of seeking to install a dictatorship, which he denied.
A president killed overnight at his home. The interim Haitian Prime Minister Claude Joseph announcing the news Wednesday that President Jovenel Moïse had been shot dead, calling the killing an inhumane and barbaric act. He said Moïse was shot by unidentified attackers. He added that Moïse's wife was injured and was receiving medical care. The attack comes amid a rising wave of politically linked violence in the impoverished Caribbean nation. With Haiti politically divided and facing a growing humanitarian crisis and shortages of food, there are fears of widespread disorder. Gunshots could be heard throughout Port-au-Prince. The capital had been suffering an increase in violence as gangs battle one another and police for control of the streets. The violence fueled by an increase in poverty and political instability. Moïse had faced fierce protests since he took office as president in 2017, with the opposition accusing him this year of seeking to install a dictatorship by overstaying his mandate, charges he denied.
Story at noon out of Haiti, where officials say the country's president was assassinated inside his home overnight. Good afternoon, I'm Maribel Rodriguez.
And I'm Frances Wang. The Haitian Times is reporting the First Lady has now died from her injuries in that assassination.
The news a shock to the South Florida Haitian community. CBS 4's Joe Waldman is live in Miami's Little Haiti neighborhood with reaction. Joel?
Francis and Maribel, obviously there is a lot of shock rippling throughout the Haitian community here. Just last week, the U.S. condemned the recent spate of gang violence in Haiti, and now, of course, word that both the president and the First Lady were assassinated in their home. Haitian Prime Minister Jovenel Moïse addressing the people of Haiti during less tumultuous times. Word of the leader's assassination overnight spreading quickly through Miami's Little Haiti community.
I know there's a lot of political chaos, things that are happening within the country, but to hear that the actual president got assassinated, that was just like unbelievable to me.
The people in Haiti were very angry, they were hostile, so I knew eventually something was going to happen.
To a country experiencing turmoil for decades, in recent months plagued specifically by instability and gang violence. The Prime Minister, whose term was supposed to end back in February, was reportedly gunned down in his own home, his wife badly injured, by attackers speaking both English and Spanish.
So we believe that violence begets violence, and that's not the solution to the crisis of the country.
Father Reggie, one of the spiritual leaders of Miami's Haitian community, believes other countries like the United States need to step in.
And I would like to see also that the international community start mingling in the issues of Haiti, instead of mingling in the issues of Haiti, to give us a hand so that we can stand up together.
This Haitian American refusing to give up on her homeland.
To be hopeful, to be encouraged with everything that's taking place, and hopefully change will come about.
The White House is calling it a horrific crime, saying that they are monitoring the situation and are briefing the president as the day moves along. Reporting live from Little Haiti, Joel Waldman, CBS 4 News.